Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing something different. Since we're at the end of the year, I thought this would be a perfect time to look back at my 2025 years, both for arcade and console games, and reflect on everything I managed to accomplish. This is something we usually don't do as we're thinking, of the next best thing, what to do, what's the next 1cc. But this time I wanted to just take us time to reflect back on the year and how far I've come in this beautiful journey. If you're here for the first time, welcome. My name is Badrito. I created this channel to mainly share my achievements of clearing retro arcade and console games on one credit, meaning no continues, and most of the time with the added challenge of not dying. So no death clears, stuff like that. I started doing this back in 2020, so right after the world shut down due to COVID, and we were all confined to our homes. So during this time, I rediscovered actually my love for the games I played as a kid. And that period, funny enough, coincided with the release of Streets of Rage 4, so a game that I played a lot and watched a lot of skilled runners run on Twitch. So watching them helped me understand the game on a deeper level, and eventually I learned to play it well enough to beat it without dying on top difficulty. And I enjoyed this challenge so much that once I finished it, I went back to other childhood favorites such as Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, Final Fight, Metal Slug, Shinobi 3, Streets of Rage 2, just to name a few. And I decided to, learn each game, and this turned into an obsession of learning arcade and console games, improving at them, and pushing myself to beat them without using continues or without dying. So me beating them in a skillful way, if you want to say that. So as I kept going, I noticed that I was naturally drawn to three main genres. So first, brawlers, beat 'em ups more specifically, but there's also hack and slash, the big subgenres. Also running guns and shooting games, and third, platformers. So those are my top big games that I play throughout my 1cc journey. Fast forward 5 years, my list have grown from just 7 games in 2020 to now over 240 games, with more than 360 total clears if you count multiple characters, multiple tasks, because most of the time I like to beat the game. Once I beat or learn one game, I like to do multiple clears of that same game. So I like to keep the count of both my games that I cleared, but also the total clear times, which is now almost 50% more than actually the games that I have. So of course, the joy of learning and beating the game is only one side of it. Since I stream on Twitch, I've met a lot of like-minded people through different communities. I've also discovered many streamers who enjoy taking on the same challenges, and I really learned a lot from them. So this is really a journey that I enjoyed, both from a learning perspective, but also a discovery. I think half of it was just discovering other players, how things are being done, and that's really the joy of it. And sharing these achievements, celebrating them together, learning how from each other is really a huge part of why I'm staying motivated, and this makes the journey way more fun than if I were just trying to clear the games on my own by myself in my basement. So yeah, that's a bit of a background and how we got here basically. But now let's dive into the 2025 achievements. So actually 2025 have been a prolific year for one credit clear perspective. I cleared about 61 unique games this year, and if you count multiple clears of the same titles, that amounts for about double of that amount, about 119 games. So this averages over the year 10 clears per month, which is a number that I wasn't really thinking that I would be able to reach. So that's about one and a half clears per week, spread across 14 platforms. Half of those are mainly arcade games, so about 45% are arcade games, which shouldn't be a surprise since I'm a big arcade fan. And the majority of those clear are basically no death clears. So most of the time, I like to add the extra challenge of not dying in the game. And about 9 times out of 10 of these clears, I've tackled the challenges online, on stream, live on stream, just because it's more fun, to have, people watching and sharing that fun and this achievement, sort of that adds to the adrenaline, if you want to say. Now let's dive into the details. So this year, my time was split pretty evenly between my three favorite genres. Though I have a bit of a bias towards brawlers, so about 36% of the games I cleared fell into that category, followed by run and guns and then platformers. Now I want to talk about basically some of my favorite clears of the year. For each of my three main genres, I've selected three games, my top three games, so the one that really stood out for me in this year. So starting with brawlers, beat 'em ups, hack and slash games, here are my top picks. First, Magic Sword. It's a hack and slash arcade game by Capcom. I really enjoyed this one because it's challenging and offers multiple ways to play. It's relatively long for an arcade game. It's about 45-50 minutes to an hour, depending if you want to play it for score. But it gives you the option to warp and skip about 1/3 of the game if you just want a simple clear. And with that being said, I really enjoyed it so much that I went and did a warpless clear, so did all content. And on top of that, I also went through an added challenge of going through some secret floors, which increases the difficulty. So that one I really explored from a survival perspective from all angles. The only thing I haven't done is score running, but I'm not really somebody who likes to do score runs. But that game from a score running perspective is really the dream, because it's a really satisfying game to play for score as well, if you like that kind of thing. So it was really a satisfying clear for me this year. The next brawler is Gaiopolis. It's a top-down fantasy brawler by Konami. Mechanically, the game is pretty simple. You just have basically 3 buttons, but it really makes what really makes it stand out is the presentation and the way the story is being told. It's relatively a challenging game, and while the controls have some issues, the satisfaction of discovering different bosses, different routes, going through the story and the characters really makes up for its flaws. And finally, Ride and Fight. This is would say a super scalar brawler by Taito. It's a quite unique beat 'em up. I haven't played anything similar to it. It has very distinct feel, but it's relatively short, so it's a good game to learn. But obviously, short game doesn't mean it's easy. It means that while it's short, it took me quite a while to actually learn it and master it and get the 1 credit clear. It's fairly difficult because you can die super quickly, and also the final boss, it really makes up for a great challenge. So that one is very, very stood out to me. It's memorable for both its difficulty, but also its great presentation. Moving on to run and gun games. So this was actually the hardest category to narrow down to 3 because there's so many great games. But the top 3 is really, really solid for me. So first is Asura the Striker. This is a great discovery for me. The game released in spring 2025, so this year. But I only learned about it in the summer, so it was kind of like a summer game for me. It's like a Space Harrier / Night Striker type of game that perfectly captured that arcade feel that came out from those games. And while it's still adding its own twist, it has its own style, old visual, and also mechanics that are quite different from the games that I just mentioned. It's a very strong, actually, modern take on the classic style. Next is the Outfoxies. So it's a one-on-one weapons-based action game, run and gun. I would call it run and gun, although it's not really a run and gun, but I put it in that category because it has a lot of weapon stuff, so I put all this in that category. It's an arcade game that was kind of like stayed in the arcade for most of it. It was never ported to any console up until this year, where it came out recently on Arcade Archive, so it's now accessible outside of MAME. I had known about this game a couple of years, but never really felt compelled to try it. So I'm really glad I changed my mind because it turned out to be a very fun game to learn. It's also relatively accessible. It's a short game, about 15 minutes. and it's not super hard. So really, if you want something that is accessible, fun, this is a highly recommended game to try. And I ended up doing multiple clears with different characters. So if you want something nice, fun, and short, this is a perfect game. And my third pick is Assault Suit Vulcan. It's a console game on the SNES that came out on the SNES. It's a mech run and gun. After playing this game, actually, I really dug deep into researching mech-based run and guns, and I ended up finding a lot of titles that had similar vibes. And for the future, I'm looking to actually do more of this genre because I found out that this genre is so rich. There's so many great games in it that it's really worth trying. But the game itself actually is very well made. It's very well balanced, and it's a must play if you're a fan of mechs in general and also the run and gun genre. And finally, platformers. So let's talk about my top 3 platformers. First is Omihara Kawaze. It's sort of a puzzle platformer with unique physics-based mechanics. These games are very challenging to learn, and I ended up clearing all the 3 main entries in the series. Thanks to the multiple, routes and paths, there has a massive amount of content. I only scratched the surface with the clears that I've done for the 3 games, but honestly, this could take up to maybe 3 to 6 months just to go through all the content and master it properly. Very, very good game. Very unique. Next is Shadow of the Ninja Reborn. So this is a Natsume remake of the original NES title. It is a very solid game. Once you get past, obviously, the non-intuitive controls, I would say it's a lot of fun to learn and play. Might not be their best remake, considering they made much better remake of their old games, but this one is a solid entry and it's very enjoyable. So really, once you learn the controls, it's a very, very good game. And finally, Another Word. So this is a game I played as a kid on the Genesis, and I was able to beat it back then, thanks to the unlimited continues. But the real challenge from this game stemmed from the fact that it has very, very tough puzzles, and I had to definitely, as a kid, use a guide to complete it, from start to finish. But because of the impact that this game had on me, I knew that I had to come back and beat it without dying. And this time I did it on the Amiga, which was the original platform the game released on. And that made this clear especially meaningful because, it was such a... It had that nostalgia effect on me. And being able to revisit it as an adult was kind of like really, really cool. So that wraps up my list of my favorite games of each genre. I tried to keep this video short and sweet. And what's next for 2026? So basically, in short, more 1cc's. My first goal technically is to reach my first, I would say, short-term goal is to reach 250 games cleared. Right now I'm standing at 242, so I'm only 8 games away from it. So I should be hitting it probably within the next couple of months. And I have very, very good games coming up for this to reach that goal. It's one of those games that I decided to keep at last, just to make the 250 milestone special. And of course, I won't be stopping there, obviously. I've been adding a lot of games to my list throughout the last months. And I have about 100 extra games that I have. But obviously I'll have to go back and clean it up a little bit and decide which one I want to commit to it. So stay tuned for that. And I will also continue, learning and revisiting games that I've already cleared, doing sort of replays and stuff of old games. Because I also like to go back to games that I played in the past and redo some of the routes or some of the new characters or do different variations on those. And yeah, so that does it for my video. So hopefully, I'll catch you all in 2026. I just wanted to thank everyone, who watched, supported me, and shared this journey with me. This is a hobby that continues to drive me, and your support really means a lot. So with that, I wish you all Happy New Year, filled with happiness, success, and most importantly, good health.